Welcome to the first episode of this new series celebrating the anniversaries of 2016 players. As mentioned in the announcement yesterday, I've chosen a number of 2016 players and put together their personal history on 99T. First player of today is someone that even most of you probably have heard of, though the majority probably wonders who exactly he is and what did he do. He's a moderator on the subreddit, and he has the King of 9BNT role on the 9BNT official Discord without paying a single cent. His name is ParadigmPlague, and this is his story.
ParadigmPlague was one of the first players to ever set foot on 9B9T's map. He was a member of Legion, the group that started the server, and one of the most prominent ones. Early on, together with JJ and 3 other players, LTNK, Remastered COD, and X0B, he got in a call and tried to speedrun to a dungeon. They ran to negative 10k and set up a small base there and killed the dragon by the end of the first night, using beds though rather than proper weapons. After acquiring the very first dragon egg, they immediately glitched onto the nether roof, heading towards negative 1 mil to build the first proper Legion base. Due to it being very close to the milestone, people would occasionally show up and they'd be accepted into the base. The names of these extra members, though, are lost to time. There were, however, some issues within this group. As mentioned in past history videos, there were disagreements over who was in charge of the group. Many members thought of Legion as leaderless, but one player by the name of Bezo Pasan thought differently. He figured that he would be the natural leader of it, since he was part of the original group of the same name on 2B2T.
Dr. Enderpickles, he was a major joke. I think his name now, is Pistol Partners or something.
This was just one of the many issues within the group regarding Bezo Pasan and the others. You must now understand that Bezo wasn't quite Mr. Popular in the base. This led to things getting increasingly strained until the self-proclaimed leader made a new base close by with a museum of his own personal collection of illegals, among them being a pig spawner and skeleton eggs. Legion reacted by kicking Bezo from the base and griefing it. However, before they moved, they managed to get back on good terms with Bezo, and they ended up staying at the second base he made. As one could expect, with JJ being at the base and 9B9T still being a very small and silly thing that was only less than a month old, things got rather weird. Specifically, JJ made for his friends the very first members-only jacket, the ancestors of what we now know as illegal jackets and P0 jackets, with the agreement that they wouldn't bring them around the server. Bezo Pasan, of course, was bright enough to think it would be a good idea to leave the base with his Protection 10 gear and to go to spawn only to combat log on Corrupted Greed, who captured the event in the now infamous Reddit post. On July 30th, Bezo, having once again proven that he can't be trusted, had his player data wiped by JJ, who was not impressed. Most people were shocked to find out about the illegals, but many dismissed the claim. Despite that, Corrupted Greed and his group, Destiny, took quite an interest in them. After a while, they got their confirmation. All the original Legion members had special gear, as the name Members Only jacket implied. What they got was a screenshot of G-Goose wearing the ancestor of all Protection 0 chestplates on the server. JJ, having grown quite cocky about the base, allowed the small YouTuber by the name of Hathifa Plays to visit and tour the base on video with the agreement that he would not show coordinates. It's important that you remember that, back then, Coolman hadn't yet developed the terrain finder and that the seed of 9B9T was not yet public domain. It was supposed to be harmless, but Hathifa decided to include the coordinates in the video. Destiny saw this as their opportunity, and they were the first to arrive and grief the base. During the raid, Maybe Your Mum acquired some illegals, including the aforementioned skeleton eggs from the museum. Their fate is quite interesting and was explained in detail in the 9B9T History 6 video. The negative 1 mil member list included and is not limited to JJ 2005-1, ParadigmPlague, X0B, LTNK, Remastered COD, Remade, G-Goose, Bezo Pasan, Imported Socks, and briefly, Sciotos Green. With their base grieved, Legion decided to move to a new location, the World Corner, 30 million overworld. In 9B9T History 1, it was said that they reached it by timering, but apparently that wasn't the case, which makes sense considering that timer became widespread only a considerable amount of time afterwards. Using dragon eggs, they made a hole in the nether roof, brought horses up there, and used them to AFK travel to their destination. At first, the location of their new base was not known, It was there Paradigm built the castle he dubbed Paradigm Palace in his Reddit post about it. At this new base, they felt safe. The nether roof had been patched, and there was no real way of phasing or flying under the nether bottom just yet. And to top that, JJ had grown inactive. A lot of them still had illegal items in their ender chests from the old base, meaning that 30 million became kind of a second iteration of 1 million, 1 million. In Paradigm's own words, things like villager spawners, mushroom spawners, and man-made guardian spawners were common. The base slowly died due to inactivity, but the final nail in the coffin was LTNK's accidental streaming of the coordinates. During its initial period of activity, other players ended up repopulating it years after, but that's another story. 30 million's base members were JJ 2005-1, ParadigmPlague, X0B, LTNK, Remastered COD, G-Goose, Imported Socks, Cyodos Green, and the Cheese Toasty. After a period of inactivity, Paradigm was invited to a new base in September, K2. At K2, he built his palace in the clouds, but never ended up finishing it due to the base being griefed by Vorsardian, one of the members. The K2 people regrouped at NBT and built there until that eventually was griefed by Remastered COD, and then worked at Ket Island. Check out 9B9T History number 7 if you want to know more about these three bases. After Ket, he was involved not so deeply in a few meme bases, such as Fort Breendonk, but nothing serious. The next and final part of the story requires backtracking a bit, all the way to November 2016, when the 1111 dupe was in full swing. Paradigm still had an account at 30 million, and he duped a massive amount of items, creating a gigantic stash. In 2017, people started coming to visit the base and make use of the stash, and Paradigm gave a tour to all of them. Among them were Turtle, Colt 5, Frats T0, and Flashback. In particular, the first two used the Ender Pearl teleport exploit to move parts of it to the other overworld corners, and even to one nether corner. Not like that affected it anyways. The 30 million stash was still more than enough. In fact, that stash pretty much single-handedly funded the other project of Paras happening in the meantime, like K2, NBT, and Ket Island. After this initial wave of visitors, in late 2017 came the most important one to Paradigm's story, 99Y, or otherwise called Jeff due to his Discord handle. After being given a tour, Jeff eventually stole all of the stash, patiently moving it to what would become the first Jeff base. Then, even after he abandoned that one, he kept moving the stash around whenever he made a new one. Impressed by his effort, Paradigm didn't really complain about the theft and instead joined him in making Jeff bases. Eventually, even Maybe Your Mum made his way to 30 mil, and from there he tracked where they were making the newer bases. He griefed the base, but not just that. He sent a screenshot of their end portal to JJ sometime between late 2018 and early 2019. JJ, realizing how far illegals had spread, began aggressively patching them, wiping the player data of a few accounts in the process.
This moment of the story is where Paradigm himself wrote, "My days of spending time on 9B are over, so I can confidently claim that this is it, for now." It's quite hard to fully quit this place after all, I would know. At any rate, I hope you enjoyed this format because there's more coming later today.